Autumn was blowing in the air. The pups sailed bread bag kites and paper airplanes in the wind. The windy day made the pups feel like racing around. Farrah told them it was a perfect day for a game of tag. They all agreed Tanker was it. And he tagged Dilly immediately. Dilly laughed and tagged Smudge, who had stopped to look at a flower. Smudge tagged Tanker when he slowed down a bit to turn a corner. Tanker turned around and chased Smudge, but he didn't have to run very far. He was definitely the fastest runner of the pups. When the game was over, Tanker told the pups he was the best at running fast, and they all agreed. That afternoon, the pups were sitting on the steps blowing bubbles. Tanker's bubbles were the biggest and the best. He pointed this out, in case the others hadn't noticed. They had and agreed. He was great at blowing bubbles. Before supper, the pups played a game of hopscotch. But the game wasn't fun for anyone but Tanker. He finished the whole game in one turn. Tanker mentioned how well he'd done at hopscotch. And by now, you can imagine, all the others were a bit tired of hearing it. I have to say that Tanker didn't really notice. And just as the pups were setting the table for supper, a call came over the radio. It was from the playground. Ophelia was in trouble. In seconds, we were on our way. And at the playground, it was easy to see the problem. Ophelia had been playing basketball and was eager to show off. In her excitement, she jumped and turned and threw the ball, but actually tangled herself into a knot. And to her great astonishment, it was Ophelia who landed in the basket, not the ball. And she couldn't get out. She was completely stuck and not very proud of herself either. The crowd had gathered and was looking on in amazement. The pups weren't too sure what to do. We formed a huddle, and as each pup thought about a way to help, Ophelia watched from the basket. Dilly finally came up with using the ladder to get her out. And when she was on the ground, they could sort out her tangled arms and legs. It took all 4 pups to reach up and pass her down the ladder. Tanker was at the top and lifted her out of the net. Dilly was below him and took Ophelia from Tanker and passed her to Smudge, who in turn passed her to Farrah, who was standing on the ground. Once Ophelia was down, it was a little like untying knots. With 8 arms and legs, you can imagine, the untangling was hard to do. But with some slow and gentle work, she was finally back to her old self. She thanked us and told us she wouldn't be showing off for a while. The basketball game started up again, but this time there were no fancy moves from Ophelia. That night at dinner, the pups were gathered around the table eating sweet yam doodle. Smudge suggested a game of ping pong. Farrah thought it would be great fun. Dilly loved it, and everyone was very excited. Until Tanker spoke up. Tanker told them that he would be the best at ping pong, too. Silence fell over the pups, and for a minute nobody said anything. Dilly put her spoon down and looked right at Tanker. And she told him that they really didn't want him to play. They just wanted an ordinary game of ping pong. I don't have to tell you that Tanker was upset. And really, Dilly and the others didn't mean to be unkind, but Tanker didn't realize that. After supper, the 3 pups without Tanker headed to the ping pong table. Tanker watched them go and turned to me. He told me that he couldn't help it if he was good at something, he just was. I asked him if being the best mattered to him. He told me that he liked being the best, but more than that, he liked to play with his friends. I thought about what he said for a minute, and then a good thought hit me. Tanker always pointed out how well he was doing, but he never stopped to notice if one of the others was doing a good job too. And Tanker was surprised at this because each of his friends was really good at different things. I agreed and told him that was exactly what he should tell the other pups. Tanker hurried to the ping pong table and asked if he could talk to the pups. Smudge kept playing and hit the ball to Dilly. Tanker said he was sorry. Dilly hit the ball to Farah. Tanker told them he forgot to mention how good they were at things too. By now, Farah had hit the ball back to Dilly. Tanker said he wasn't going to talk about how good he was anymore. The three pups suddenly stopped the game. They looked at Tanker. He smiled and told them that he'd forgotten to say that they were good at things too. The three smiled back. At that moment, they all decided something. From then on, they would only say how good someone else was, and not talk about being good at something themselves. That night, they had the best ping-pong game ever. Each pup made sure they gave a compliment. That means saying something nice to each other. They said how fast they were, how straight their shots were. And, well, I have to say that the pups found a new way to be best friends. I bet you could do it too. Try it sometime. You'll be surprised at what happens. I just know it.
Here's some things that are fun to do. Fun for the friends who play with you. Fun for a bunch or just for two. Fun for me and fun for you. Like making a parade. Get your friends together and decorate your trikes, bikes, or wagons to make them look fabulously fun. You can use paper flowers, fancy flags, party streamers, and anything else you like. Oh yes, make sure you can see where you're going.